Hey folks, I'm Dennis. Today I'm going to show you how to set up a Leecraft zero clearance table saw insert for a porter cable PCB 270 TS table saw. Let's get started. I really like this table saw. I bought it secondhand, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I need a little bit of work. It hadn't been taken real good care of, but I went through and replaced some parts and tuned it up, lined it up, all that kind of stuff. It's been a great table saw. One of the things that I don't like about it is the factory insert. So I wanted a zero clearance insert, and my dad bought me one of these for Christmas. So we're gonna set it up and install it. It's a nice insert. It's phenolic. It's very thick. It's reinforced all the way across. It's made to fit this saw. This particular one fits a Hitachi C10FL, C10LA, and a porter cable PCB 270 TS. This is the HT1 from Leecraft. So that's the insert itself. Of course, it comes with your finger hole to pull it out. It's got an adjustment screw right here that you can back out or turn in to adjust the snugness of fit in the saw. Now, the reason they don't come with a slot already in them is because everybody uses different blades. You may want to use this for your dado blade, which is going to take a much wider slot, or like in my case, I'm using a thin kerf blade. A few reasons for a zero clearance table saw insert, in case you don't know. It supports the work right up to the edge of the blade, which is nice. Reduces chip out and splintering. That's because it supports the work right up to the blade. Increases safety by preventing drops and strips from becoming wedged and kicked. Reduces sawdust expelled from the tabletop. The kerf serves as a handy stock alignment guide because you can line up on the edge of the kerf. Reduces saw noise. That's why you would want a zero clearance insert. I'm going to just go through the warnings real quick just to make sure everybody's aware. It's definitely better to not just jump in with this, but to read all these instructions and understand what you're doing first. It'll do a couple of things. Number one, it'll keep you safe. Number two, it'll make sure that you don't tear up your brand new insert. Don't attempt to tilt the arbor while the blade's in the insert. The blade will bind. If using blade stabilizers, check clearance before raising the blade. In other words, you want to make sure that if you've got stabilizers on there, that they're not going to bump the bottom of this insert. This insert's a little bit thicker than the factory insert, so you got to make sure you got room for all that. I use a riving knife for my table saw. You have to take this riving knife off before you cut the kerf for this insert, because it's obviously going to hit the bottom of the insert. Now they've given access here on the porter cable saw. Well, the Hitachi saws, I think they use a splitter that only goes through this hole. The porter cable saw, you have to cut this out back to about here to give room for the riving knife. But you can't do that when you're first doing the kerf cut with the saw blade, so we'll have to take that off. Go ahead and get any kind of dust and debris out of that slot and away from the leveling screws. Okay, so now we're starting in with the instructions. Step one is to lower the blade completely. The nice thing about this Leecraft insert is it's already got the holes for your leveling screws. You can level this insert just like you would a normal factory insert. Place the insert in the throat opening with the finger hole toward the operator and the starter pocket located over the blade. This is the starter pocket. Back end of the insert must be placed in first, allowing anti-lift lugs to slide under the cast iron ledge. Insert should be resting on top of the 4 leveling screws, just like Hitachi or porter cable factory inserts designed to do. That's these screws here. You got 2 here and 2 here. And if you don't know, the way those work is, if your insert's too high, you screw them in, or if one corner's too high, something like that. If it's too low, you screw them out. What you want is this insert to be completely flush with the top. So you slip that in there, and I generally take a good machinist level and figure out where I am. So I'm a little low here, Now we're good and flat. Nice and flush all the way across. Back out the adjusting screw to achieve a fit which is snug yet removable. For added security, Hitachi only, install the factory supplied front hold down screw through the front hole provided. That's this. On this porter cable saw I don't have that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this screw for snugness. We're going to open it up just a little bit and we'll back it out about a half a turn first and try it. And what you're looking for is you're taking that play there out, the front to back. Alright, now it's fitted. That's important because you don't want to try to bring this blade up through the insert without having this insert fitted. Otherwise it's going to move around on you. The riving knife for a porter cable, cut a blade slot with the riving knife removed. Using a saw or router, extend the blade slot to the far end of the small pocket, which would be here. This end of it, this is the back. Don't cut beyond this point as it'll weaken the remaining bridge, making it prone to break, which is this. This is the remaining bridge and you don't want to cut into it. Use a riving knife with this insert for 90-degree cutting only. So I like to use my riving knife, so I'm going to cut that. Fully cover the insert with a board and clamp at each end to the table saw top. Alright, so we're going to do that. We know that it's fitted properly. I got good flushness all the way around, so I'm going to get this stuff off the saw. You're going to want something that's flat because you want to be able to be fully flush up against this insert so that you don't have any voids under it. I've got a 2x4 that I happened to run through the planer for another project that was an offcut, so I'm going to use it. And I'm going to center it over the insert. It doesn't completely cover it, but it leaves about, I don't know, maybe an eighth on each side, so that'll work out just fine. Number 3, reconnect power to the saw, switch on. Slowly and cautiously raise the blade up to cut its way through the insert. Keep hands off tabletop, stay clear, and wear goggles. So I'm going to move the camera off to the side a little bit so I can stand off to the side, just in case. Number 4 is raise the blade to maximum desired height at this time. Lower the blade, then number 5 is lower the blade, turn off the saw, and remove the board. So we're going to do all of that now. I'm just going to real slowly raise the blade, and you can hear it starting to engage the insert already. There's the curve. We'll give you a close-up so you can see how nice and clean it is. And that's with the blade up. The next thing that I'll have to do is cut the slot deeper for the riving knife. So I've got a 3.5 inch distance from here to where I need the curve to stop. So I'm just going to use the back of the table for a reference to measure the difference in the OD of the blade at table height and the OD of the blade at this insert height, because I'm going to have to cut this extra part of the kerf with this insert on top of this one. So I've got to make up for the difference in the OD of the blade. So right to the edge of the table, really 6 and 31/30 seconds. So with this insert, I'm going to say 7 1/8 to be safe. So that means I've got 5/30 seconds to add to the 3.5 inches. So I need to add 3.5 inches to the kerf from here to where I need it to be. The insert was flush on the table when I cut this kerf. So to cut the remainder of the kerf for the riving knife, I'm going to have this setting on top of the factory insert. So it's going to raise it up. It's going to raise this surface up, the thickness of the insert. So the difference in where the OD is at the tabletop versus where the OD of the blade is at where the top of this insert will be sitting on top is 5/32. So I've got 3.5 inches that I have to move it, plus I've got to add 5/32. So a half inch is 16/32. So 16/32 and 5/32 is 21/32. So 3 and 21/32 is how much further forward I have to have the new insert with it clamped down to the top of the factory insert to make the curve come out in the right spot. The way I'm going to accomplish that is I'm going to take a piece of masking tape and I'm going to put it down in line with the blade. Then I'm going to take my machinist square and I'm going to use the miter slot to line up exactly with the front edge of that insert. Then I'm going to take my scale and I'm going to make another mark at 3 and 21/32. So then I need to have the front of my insert right there. There are probably easier ways to do this. I know some people have used jigsaws and scroll saws and things like that, and that's fine. If that works for you, that's great. I just want to see if I can replicate the same quality of kerf back here as I got on the first pass. So then what I'm going to do, so I know where I need the front edge of my insert to be. I need it to be right here. If I've got the front edge there, then that's going to put the back edge of this kerf about here, which is exactly where I need to be. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit that insert over the blade and set my fence. So I know I've got the insert right where I need it to be, side to side. And that should be fine. That's up against my fence. And so then I should be able to bring my insert up to where it's right on the line, right there, and then clamp my board down over top of it and it should be good to go. I'm going to be careful when I clamp my board so that I don't move this insert in either direction. Alright, here goes nothing. If I've done my calculations right, I should be able to raise the saw all the way up, all the way back down, and then have this kerf be just right for the riving knife. Looks nice and clean, so should be fine. Let's check it out with the riving knife and see. So I took just a little jeweler's file and just cleaned up the last little, maybe a 30-second back here, due to the curvature of the blade. With it being clamped in there and cut, the cut, you know, is like this. So there's just a little bit of a burr kind of left at the top of the cut. So I just took a jeweler's file and cleaned that up, and that should do it. That should make it. Yep. So now I've got a little bit of clearance right here, just a touch, and that's what I want. So I can, because that's with the blade all the way up. I've got just a touch of clearance. I'm going to have to. Yeah, my riving knife's lifting the insert, so I'm going to have to clean that up just a touch too. I'll do the same thing. I'm going to take just a piece of sandpaper in through there and clean that edge up just a touch, and that'll be good to go. I'm just going to take a disc. I've got some 100 grit disc. Just hit that a little bit back here where the riving knife rides. Hit both sides. Folks at Leecraft tell you this: if you have any like any binding or anything like that, to just take a file or a bit of sandpaper and smooth that kerf up. All right. There we go. Now, as you can see, I can raise and lower that blade. I've got nice, really nice zero clearance front to back on the blade and the riving knife. So yeah, with just a little bit of work, nice zero clearance insert, which will give me safer cuts and better cuts. So I'm not affiliated at all with the people at Leecraft. I've never talked to them, but I will tell you that I like their product so far. Here's their contact information. Here we go. Leecraft in Gainesville, Georgia. There's their phone number and their fax. You can order these online. I know Woodcraft carries them, and you can probably order them direct from Leecraft. I'm not sure, but maybe even other places. Okay, folks, so that's my take on a Leecraft HT1 table saw insert. This particular one is made for a Hitachi C10 or Porter Cable PCB 270 table saw. They make other ones. They make them for Rigid Saw, Craftsman Saw, and I'm sure all sorts of other brands. So anyway, I'm real happy with this one. It looks great. It fits great. It's going to be a lot safer and give me a lot higher quality cut. Help me on my dust collection, the whole bit. So thanks for watching my video. Appreciate it. Thanks for checking out my channel. And I've got all kinds of other do-it-yourself videos. Please give them a look. I intend to start a series of workshop videos here pretty soon, and this will probably be the first one of those. So thanks for watching. Give me a like, give me a subscribe if you would, and I hope to see you back soon. Thanks.